which soft plastic slayer inks. The guy's a friend of mine, but jig head, everybody knows what a jig head is. Okay, that's a jig head. Paddle tail. This is basically the go-to bait for all tournament redfish guys. Not necessarily this brand or this brand, but a jig head with a soft plastic is the go-to redfish bait for tournament guys. It's typically what I throw 90% of the time in a tournament. Fun fishing, I can do all this, but so Jeremy's coming up next. Jeremy's won a bunch of tournaments, great angler. I know Jeremy throws jig head. I watch him, I study Jeremy. So this is like if so this is really the pothole bait that I was telling you about, the negative tide bait. If I'm really zeroed in on a redfish, I like dark bait in a dark hole, light bait in a light hole. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's a sand hole, you see mullet in it, it's nice and clear and beautiful. Will they eat this? I'm sure, but it's just my mentality. I like something more natural and lighter colored in the lighter holes, and if it's a back bay that's muddy, I go dark. It's just the two things. Can you catch them opposite of that? I'm sure. It's just my opinion on that. This is a stick bait, which is, it's a great bait. You can hook it weedless. It's pretty good for fishing real skinny water. And does everyone know what weedless is? Like a worm, like the old bass hook, you make it weedless for tailing redfish. Because if you get into this negative tide fishing, especially in the Fort DeSoto area, you're going to see tailing redfish, and you're going to not be able to catch them, and because they can be tricky. So what you want to have is a weedless setup, and I was bass fishing in my pond, but this would actually work. It's a bass hook is all it is, and like a gulp shrimp on a tailing redfish is probably the best bait to get them. If you throw a jig head on top of them, they're only in this much water. It's just going to get stuck in the grass, and you're going to yank it, and you're going to steer. Okay. So if I know I'm going to be fishing skinny water, and I know that I know the areas where redfish tail where they don't tail. Like Fort DeSoto, they tail a lot in Inglewood down to Placida. The South Shore, for whatever reason, gets very few tailers. It must be the food they eat makes them tail. I mean, I've fished the South Shore for 20 years. I think I've seen tailing redfish 2 or 3 times.
And big question, what do you mean tailing redfish?
When their tail's up in the air. They feed, and so you'll see their fin sticking out of the air, right? And you'll be like, wow, and it's exciting to stalk that redfish. Very exciting. But then you get up there, and you don't have the right bait, and you're not going to catch it. So if you have a weedless gulp or a weedless stick bait or something like that ready, and when I go to Charlotte Harbor, which they tail more than here, on one of my poles was sitting away, I'm not even messing with, is a weedless setup, because they'll come up out of nowhere. You'll just be cruising along and a tail will pop up. And if you're not ready, it's over right then. So, and the reason I'm bringing that up is I'm kind of mainly talking about negative tide fishing, because that's when they tail. They're going to be eating, tail sticking in the air. It's beautiful. I've seen them, I'm sure Jeremy has too, 10 at a time. Makes your heart, beat fast. It's fun. Except when you can't catch them, and that pisses you off. So if you're ready for it, if you got 2 rods, if you're in a kayak, just keep one ready weedless. If you're fishing skinny, again, this is not something I would fish when the water's coming in. I mean, you don't need this. You need to go to the Mirrodine and jig heads and all that stuff. This is a tailing redfish setup. Okay, so the other thing I always like to teach people or show people is the typical setup for the most part for a redfish angler or an artificial guy is we like 10-pound braid for the most part. Why? Because we cast it further. We cover more water. I've caught 30-pound redfish in Louisiana on 10-pound braid. So if your drag's right and all that, you can catch a monster on 10-pound braid. And the only reason I would love to always throw 20, for those times I've had my ass handed to me, to be quite frank with you. But I also want to cast 50 yards or something. Because if I'm in a pot, if you do the math, if I'm casting 50 yards and you're casting 40 yards and I make the 100 casts, somebody can do the math. I just covered about 2 more miles of water than you did just with my cast. on the same amount. So that's why we use 10 pound. A lot of people, I don't want to do it here, but we use the ratchet. Like I can start from right here, boom, I know it's gonna do that. Boom, I can get one out there 30 or 40 yards just from that, what you just saw. Okay, not this, you know, one-handed thing and all this stuff. So casting is very important. You know, it's a ratchet, hand here, 10 pound braid. This is my son's pole, I just grabbed it out of the garage, but I typically fish at least a 7.4 foot rod, at least. Just, again, casting distance. Jeremy, what do you fish, 7/8 or something?
7/6.
Yeah, 7.4 is the minimum that I like to use in a tournament. Just so I can get it out there. It's very important to be able to cast a long way. So 7.4, 7.6, 7.8. I even got a buddy that throws 8 footers on it. How he does it, it's like a beach pole. But I think I'm throwing far, you know, like I'll get one out there and he'll be by me like 20 yards. You know, like I'm not going to the 8 footer. So